First Contact and Mockery. These massive galactic council chambers buzzed with alien voices speaking in dozens of languages, their universal translators creating a symphony of overlapping conversations. Admiral Zektar of the Vorthic Empire stood at the central podium, his forearms gesturing dramatically as he addressed the assembled representatives from across known space. His reptilian features twisted into what passed for amusement among his species. "And now we come to the newest applicants for council membership," Zektar announced, his voice carrying easily across the vast chamber. "The species that calls itself human." A ripple of curious chatter spread through the audience. Earth had only recently made contact with galactic civilization, and most species knew little about the blue planet's inhabitants beyond basic biological data. Ambassador Sarah Chun stepped forward from Earth's small delegation, her crisp military uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate robes and armor worn by the alien representatives. Behind her stood General Marcus Rodriguez and Colonel Elena Vasquez, both maintaining perfect military bearing despite the obvious hostility in the room. "Humans," Zektar continued, consulting his datapad with theatrical flourish, "claim to possess advanced military capabilities despite their primitive technology. They request inclusion in the Galactic Defense Initiative, believing they can contribute meaningfully to our forces." Laughter erupted from several sections of the chamber. The insectoid Clith ambassador clicked his mandibles in what sounded like mechanical giggling, while the crystalline Zephyrions chimed with resonant mockery. Ambassador Chun cleared her throat. "Honorable council members, Earth may be new to galactic society, but our military traditions span thousands of years. We have developed unique tactical approaches and specialized units that could greatly benefit joint operations." "Specialized units?" Zektar's eyes gleamed with predatory amusement. "Do tell us about these specialized units." General Rodriguez stepped forward. "Among our most effective forces are our sniper corps, elite marksmen capable of precise elimination of targets at extreme range with minimal technological support." The chamber fell silent for a moment before erupting into even louder laughter. The Garati delegate, a massive bear-like creature with cybernetic implants, slammed his metal fist on his desk. "Primitive projectile weapons? In the age of plasma cannons and particle beams?" Commander Veltar of the Nexus Federation, a tall humanoid with silver skin, shook his head dismissively. "Honored humans, our standard infantry possess targeting systems that can eliminate enemies across continents. Our battlesuits provide complete environmental protection and enhancement of all physical capabilities. What use could possibly come from, what did you call them, snipers?" Colonel Vasquez's jaw tightened, but she maintained her composure. "Sir, our snipers operate independently, require minimal supply lines, and can remain undetected in hostile territory for extended periods. They eliminate high-value targets with surgical precision." "Surgical precision!" The Vorthek military advisor standing beside Admiral Zektar burst into hissing laughter. "Our plasma rifles can vaporize targets from orbit. Why would anyone crawl through dirt with primitive chemical propellant weapons when they could rain death from the sky?" "Furthermore," Commander Veltar added, his tone becoming more condescending, "modern warfare is fought with shields, energy barriers, and quantum displacement fields. Physical projectiles are simply quaint museum pieces from a more primitive age." Sarah Chun felt her diplomatic training warring with her growing anger. Perhaps a demonstration would be more convincing than words. Admiral Zektar's predatory grin widened. "A demonstration? How delightfully entertaining." "Very well, humans. We shall arrange a small exercise, our newest recruits versus your finest snipers. Let us see how these primitive marksmen fare against proper galactic soldiers." The Clith ambassador chittered excitedly. "Oh yes, this should be most educational. Our trainees need practice against obsolete tactics anyway." "Excellent," Zektar announced to the chamber. "We shall conduct this exercise on the training world of Kepler 442b, a planet with varied terrain, perfect for testing these human snipers." As the delegates continued their mocking discussion of the upcoming demonstration, Colonel Vasquez leaned close to General Rodriguez. Sir, they have no idea what they're asking for. Rodriguez's eyes remained fixed on the alien officials, but a slight smile played at the corners of his mouth. No, Elena, they really don't. The next few days passed quickly as preparations were made for the demonstration. The Galactic representatives treated it as entertainment, spreading word throughout the council stations about the amusing humans. Who thought primitive gunpowder weapons could compete with advanced technology? Earth's delegation maintained their professional demeanor while making their own preparations. They had been given permission to bring a small team of specialists for the demonstration. The message sent back to Earth was simple: send the best. The response was equally simple: Ghost Team en route back on Earth. Deep in the mountains of Colorado, Master Sergeant Jake "Ghost" Morrison received his briefing with typical stoicism. At 35, he was already a legend among military snipers, with confirmed kills across 3 continents and in conditions that would challenge most soldiers' sanity. So, let me get this straight, Morrison said to his commanding officer after reviewing the alien technology reports. These aliens think our way of fighting is obsolete because they have fancy energy weapons and computer targeting. That's correct, Sergeant. They're treating this as a joke? Morrison's weathered face remained expressionless, and they want a demonstration. They want to embarrass us, Jake. Show the galaxy that humans don't belong at the big kids' table. For the first time since the briefing began, Morrison smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Sir, request permission to select my own team for this demonstration? Granted. Who do you want? I want Maria Santos for urban operations, David Kim for wilderness tracking, and Alex Petrov for technical support. And sir, yes? We're going to need some very special ammunition. As Morrison left the briefing room, he was already planning. The aliens expected a primitive display from backwards humans using obsolete weapons. They wanted to see failure and humiliation. They were about to learn why Earth snipers were called ghosts, because ghosts were already dead, and that made them very dangerous indeed. The stage was set for a demonstration that would echo across the galaxy, though not in the way the alien delegates expected. Soon, very soon, the laughter would stop. Arrival at the testing ground. The transport ship Galactic Unity emerged from hyperspace near Kepler 442b with the subtle grace of advanced alien technology. Through the massive viewports, the planet below appeared as a patchwork of diverse terrains, dense jungles, arid deserts, snow-capped mountains, and sprawling urban training complexes built specifically for military exercises. Master Sergeant Jake Morrison stood at one of the smaller observation windows, his keen eyes already studying the topography below. Beside him, his 3 team members maintained the same focused intensity that had made them legends in their respective specialties. Sergeant Maria Santos, her compact frame belying her deadly expertise in urban warfare, traced patterns on the glass as she identified potential vantage points in the visible city structures. Her dark eyes held the calculating look of someone who had turned concrete jungles into hunting grounds. Staff Sergeant David Kim, the team's wilderness specialist, examined the forested regions with the patience of a predator. His Korean-American heritage had gifted him with features that could blend into almost any environment, and his tracking skills were considered supernatural by those who had witnessed them in action. Technical Sergeant Alex Petrov, the team's equipment specialist and spotter, was already running calculations in his head while studying the planet's atmospheric readings on his tablet. His Russian background had instilled in him a methodical approach to problem-solving that had saved countless lives in hostile territories. Impressive facilities, commented Commander Veltar as he approached the human delegation. The Nexus Federation officer's silver skin gleamed under the ship's artificial lighting. Though I wonder if your primitive weapons will function properly in this atmosphere. Morrison turned slowly to face the alien commander. Our equipment is tested for all standard atmospheric conditions, sir. Gravity's a bit light, but that just means our rounds will fly a little flatter. Veltar's expression suggested he didn't understand the implications of that statement. Ah, yes, your chemical projectiles. Fascinating relics. I've been studying your military history during the journey. Tell me, how do you expect to achieve meaningful results when your maximum effective range is limited to what? A few thousand meters? That depends on the target, sir, Morrison replied evenly. Indeed. Well, you'll be pleased to know we've arranged suitable opponents for your demonstration. Fresh recruits from our training facilities, nothing too challenging for your first exposure to modern military techniques. Behind Morrison, Santos exchanged a glance with Kim that would have chilled the alien's artificial blood had he understood human expressions. Petrov simply smiled and adjusted his equipment case. We appreciate the consideration, Morrison said. I'm sure it will be educational for everyone involved. Admiral Zektar's voice boomed across the ship's intercom. All personnel, prepare for planetary insertion. Our honored guests are about to receive a lesson in modern warfare. The landing was smooth, depositing the mixed group at a sprawling military complex built into a natural valley. Towering holographic displays showed real-time tactical information, while sleek alien vehicles moved between training facilities. That looked more like technological monuments than military installations. Colonel Vasquez accompanied the sniper team as they were given a tour of the facilities. Their alien guides seemed particularly eager to showcase their advanced targeting systems and weapons technology. Observe, announced Training Commander Rixus, a hulking Gorati whose cybernetic implants glowed with status indicators. Our standard battle rifle can identify and eliminate targets through solid barriers using quantum resonance scanning. The weapon automatically compensates for wind, gravity, atmospheric pressure, and target movement. He handed the sleek weapon to Morrison, who examined it with professional interest. The rifle was lighter than expected, with a grip designed for three-fingered hands that felt awkward in human grasp. Impressive technology, Morrison admitted. What's the power source? Miniaturized fusion cell. Good for approximately 10,000 shots before replacement. Rixus's mechanical voice carried obvious pride. The targeting computer processes millions of calculations per second. Morrison nodded thoughtfully and handed the weapon back. And if the computer fails? The question seemed to confuse Rixus. Computer failure is extremely rare. The redundant systems make manual aiming unnecessary. I see. Morrison's tone remained neutral. And the range? Effective combat range is approximately 50 kilometers in standard atmosphere. Maximum range under ideal conditions approaches 200 kilometers. This time it was Santos who spoke up. What about noise discipline? Noise discipline? Sound signature? How loud is it when fired? Rixus consulted his datapad. Approximately 90 decibels at the firing position. Kim whistled softly. That's louder than a freight train. Loudness is irrelevant when enemies are eliminated before they can respond, Rixus explained with mechanical patience. Modern combat doctrine emphasizes overwhelming force and technological superiority. Petrov raised his hand politely. What about ammunition weight? Each plasma cartridge weighs 0.3 kilograms and contains enough energy for sustained automatic fire. The human team exchanged glances. Their own ammunition weighed a fraction of that amount, and they could carry hundreds of rounds in the space required for a dozen alien cartridges. Fascinating, Morrison said. Very different approach from our methods. Indeed. Your primitive projectile weapons require precise manual calculation of trajectory, wind compensation, range estimation, and target leading. All functions our computers handle automatically. Rixus seemed genuinely puzzled by human methodology. Why would anyone choose such inefficient methods when technology can eliminate these variables? Morrison's weathered face remained expressionless. Sometimes the old ways have advantages the new ones don't. Such as? Simplicity, reliability, silence. Morrison paused, his eyes distant. Invisibility. The tour continued, with alien officers demonstrating increasingly sophisticated weapons and defensive systems. Energy shields that could deflect directed energy attacks. Sensor networks that could detect heat signatures through solid rock. Battlesuits that enhance strength and speed while providing complete environmental protection. With each demonstration, the alien confidence grew more pronounced. They were clearly expecting the humans to be overwhelmed by the technological superiority on display. Finally, Commander Veltar announced the parameters for the demonstration. Tomorrow's exercise will be conducted in phases. First, long-range target engagement in open terrain. Second, urban warfare scenarios. Third, night operations using thermal masking. Your snipers will be given standard enemy positions to neutralize, while our recruits attempt to locate and eliminate your positions. Sounds reasonable, Morrison agreed. What are the victory conditions? Simple elimination. First team to neutralize all opposing forces wins each phase. And our opponents? 24 fresh graduates from our advanced training program, all equipped with standard battlesuits and modern weaponry. Morrison nodded slowly. 24-4. Those are interesting odds. Veltar's smile was predatory. We wanted to ensure a fair demonstration of our capabilities. As the alien officers departed to make final preparations, the human team gathered around their equipment cases. Morrison opened his rifle case and began his ritual inspection of the weapon that had served him across 3 continents in countless battles. 24-4, Santos mused. They're either very confident or very stupid. Kim checked his ghillie suit components. Probably both. Petrov was already studying topographical maps of tomorrow's exercise areas. The terrain favors long-range engagement. Multiple elevated positions, clear fields of fire, natural concealment. Morrison finished his weapon inspection and looked up at his team. Remember, people, tomorrow isn't just about winning an exercise. It's about showing the galaxy what humans can do when they underestimate us. Santos smiled grimly. They want a demonstration, Sergeant? They'll get one they'll never forget, Morrison replied. Time to show them why ghosts are called ghosts. The first phase of long-range engagement dawn broke over Kepler 442b with alien precision, the planet's twin suns casting long shadows across the designated exercise area. In the observation bunker carved into a hillside 3 kilometers from the action, dozens of alien military officials gathered around holographic displays showing every square meter of the battlefield in real time. Admiral Zektar stood at the center of the display, his forearms manipulating the controls to zoom in on various sections of the terrain. Excellent visibility today. Perfect conditions to observe primitive human tactics in action. The exercise area stretched across 25 square kilometers of varied terrain, rolling hills dotted with rocky outcroppings, patches of dense forest, and a network of ravines that created natural concealment. At the far end, almost 8 kilometers from the starting positions, 24 targets had been positioned on elevated platforms, representing high-value enemy personnel that needed elimination. Commander Veltar consulted his chronometer. The human snipers should be moving into position now. Our thermal imaging shows ... He frowned and adjusted the sensors. Computer, scan for human heat signatures in grid sections Alpha through Omega, no human signatures. Detected, the artificial intelligence responded in its neutral tone. That's impossible, muttered Training Commander Rixus, his cybernetic implants flickering as he ran diagnostics. They entered the area 30 minutes ago. The thermal sensors cover the entire exercise zone. In the observation area, Ambassador Chun maintained her diplomatic composure while General Rodriguez and Colonel Vasquez watched the displays with knowing expressions. Perhaps your equipment is malfunctioning? Chun suggested mildly. Zektar's reptilian features twisted with irritation. Our sensors are calibrated to detect heat signatures from any known life form, unless your humans have somehow become invisible. 8 kilometers away, Master Sergeant Morrison lay perfectly still in a shallow depression he had carved into the rocky soil, his ghillie suit blending seamlessly with the surrounding terrain. Every piece of equipment was positioned for optimal concealment, his rifle barrel extended through a carefully constructed blind of local vegetation. The scope covers adjusted to prevent any glint from the twin sun's dot in his earpiece. He heard Petrov's whispered voice from a position 500 meters to his left. Wind is steady at 8 kilometers per hour from the northwest. Temperature rising slowly. First target is marked. Morrison adjusted his scope and found the distant platform through his optics. The target was a standard military silhouette, barely visible at the extreme range. His calculations were automatic now, the result of 20 years of training and experience. Distance, 7,847 meters. Wind, minimal deflection at this range. Gravity, 0.89 Earth normal meant less bullet drop. Atmospheric pressure, slightly thicker, requiring minor adjustment. Ready when you are. Ghost, came Santos's voice from her position in the forest 2 kilometers to his right. Kim. Report, Morrison whispered. Southeast approach is clear. I count 3 observation posts watching the wrong sectors. Kim's voice carried the satisfied tone of a hunter who had found his prey unaware. Morrison settled into his final firing position. The alien officials wanted a demonstration of human capabilities. They were about to get exactly what they asked for. All units, this is Ghost. Time to announce our presence. Commence Phase 1. The first shot broke the morning silence like thunder got in the observation bunker. Every alien head turned toward the display as target number 12 simply exploded in a shower of metallic fragments. The impact was so powerful that the platform itself buckled from the kinetic energy transfer. Impossible, breathed Commander Veltar, frantically adjusting his sensors. The nearest heat signature is over 4 kilometers from that target. No weapon should be effective at such range. Before anyone could respond, target number 7 disintegrated in exactly the same manner. Then number 3. Then number 18. How many weapons are firing? Demanded Admiral Zektar. Training Commander Rixus studied his readings with mechanical precision. Acoustic analysis indicates single shots from different positions. 4 distinct weapon signatures, but the muzzle signatures are... He paused, his artificial voice carrying confusion. Extremely faint. Almost undetectable. Target number 21 exploded. There! Shouted Veltar, pointing at the display. Grid section Eco 7. I detected a muzzle flash. The holographic display zoomed in on the indicated area, showing nothing but empty terrain and scattered rocks. Scan that area with maximum resolution, ordered ZK single quote star. The sensors swept the location repeatedly. Finding no trace of enemy presence, target number 9 disappeared in a cloud of debris. This is impossible, Veltar repeated, his silver skin flushing with darker tones that indicated stress. Our sensors should detect any life form within 20 kilometers. No primitive projectile weapon should be effective beyond 2,000 meters, and certainly not at ranges approaching 8,000 meters. Colonel Vasquez leaned forward slightly. Commander, perhaps your understanding of primitive weapons is somewhat limited. The demonstration continued with mechanical precision. Every 30 to 45 seconds, another target exploded with devastating accuracy. The alien observers watched in growing amazement as their supposedly primitive opponents eliminated distant targets with surgical precision while remaining completely undetectable to advanced. Sensors. Computer, Zektar commanded. Analyze projectile trajectories and calculate firing positions. Analysis complete. Projectiles appear to originate from positions 7.8 to 8.2 kilometers from targets. Trajectory calculations indicate firing positions in sectors Alpha 3, Delta 7, Eco 12, and Gamma 15. Show me those positions. The display highlighted 4 separate areas scattered across the exercise zone. Each sensor sweep revealed nothing but natural terrain. Target number 16 exploded. They're using some form of cloaking technology, suggested the Cliff ambassador, his mandibles clicking nervously. Advanced camouflage beyond our sensors' capability. Ambassador Chun smiled slightly. Actually, Ambassador, they're using techniques developed on Earth over several centuries. Natural camouflage, patience, and extremely precise marksmanship. Natural camouflage? Veltar's voice cracked slightly. Against quantum thermal sensors? Heat suppression, visual blending, and remaining perfectly still, Chun explained. Techniques your advanced warriors apparently never learned. The targets continued to fall with monotonous regularity. Each shot was placed with devastating accuracy. The massive kinetic energy of the human ammunition completely destroying the alien target. Systems, Morrison's voice whispered through his team's communications. 17 down. 7 remaining. Santos, take the cluster at Grid Eca 9. Roger. Ghost, I see them. 3 targets disappeared in rapid succession as Santos demonstrated the speed possible with a semi-automatic precision rifle. Kim, clean up the stragglers. On it. The final 4 targets lasted less than 2 minutes when the last target exploded into metallic fragments. The observation bunker fell completely silent. 24 targets. Eliminated from impossible ranges by invisible opponents using primitive weapons? Admiral, Zektar stared at the displays for a long moment before speaking. How long did that take? 14 minutes, 37 seconds, reported Rixus. And our sensors never detected the shooters? Negative, sir. No human heat signatures detected throughout the exercise. Commander Veltar turned to the human delegation, his expression shaken. Ambassador Chun, would it be possible to interview your specialists about their techniques? Chun's smile widened slightly. Of course, Commander. I'm sure they'd be happy to explain. This was just the long-range phase after all. Zektar's 4 arms gestured helplessly at the displays. Just the long-range phase? Oh yes, Chun replied cheerfully. Next we have urban warfare, then night operations. I believe your officials wanted a comprehensive demonstration? The alien officers exchanged glances that clearly indicated they were beginning to reconsider their assessment of human military capabilities. In the distance, 4 ghosts began moving toward the urban combat zone, their mission only 1/3 complete. Urban warfare. The city becomes a trap. The urban training complex sprawled across several square kilometers, designed to simulate cityscape combat scenarios from dozens of different galactic civilizations. Towering spires of alien architecture mixed with more familiar geometric buildings, creating a maze of concrete, metal, and synthetic materials that challenged conventional tactical thinking. In the central command bunker, the alien observers had repositioned themselves around more sophisticated monitoring equipment. The shocking performance during the long-range phase had clearly shaken their confidence, and several additional sensor arrays had been activated to ensure they wouldn't miss the human snipers again. Enhanced thermal imaging online, reported Technical Commander Vrex, a spindly insectoid whose compound eyes reflected the holographic displays. Multispectrum analysis active. Seismic sensors deployed throughout the urban zone. Motion detectors covering all major thoroughfares. Admiral Zektar studied the feed with obvious determination. What about the opposition force? Training Commander Rixus gestured toward a secondary display showing the starting positions. 24 advanced trainees equipped with full battle suits and energy weapons. Each suit provides complete environmental sealing, enhanced strength and speed, integrated targeting systems, and energy shielding capable of deflecting most projectile attacks. Commander Veltar nodded approvingly. The energy shields are rated to stop conventional kinetic projectiles up to 12mm caliber. These primitive human weapons should be completely ineffective in urban combat. Ambassador Chun maintained her diplomatic expression while listening to the alien confidence rebuild itself. I'm sure your trainees are very well trained, Commander. Indeed they are. Urban combat is our specialty. The suits provide superhuman capabilities, and the energy weapons can penetrate most building materials. Your snipers will find themselves severely disadvantaged in close quarters. Combat, General Rodriguez exchanged a glance with Colonel Vasquez that conveyed volumes about their assessment of alien understanding of urban warfare. The exercise parameters were simple. The alien trainees would patrol the urban complex in 4-person teams while attempting to locate and eliminate the human snipers. The sniper's objective was to eliminate all patrol members while avoiding detection and capture. "Commence Phase 2, announced ZEK single quotes tar. Deep in the urban complex. Sergeant Maria Santos crouched in the shadows of a maintenance shaft that ran between two residential buildings. Her compact frame allowed her to move through spaces that would challenge larger soldiers. And her years of experience in cities from Sao Paulo to Baghdad had taught her that urban terrain was three-dimensional. Most soldiers only thought in terms of street level, through her earpiece. She heard Morrison's calm voice. "Teams are spreading out in standard patrol formation. Santos, you have Team Alpha approaching your sector from the north." Santos slipped deeper into the maintenance tunnel and emerged through a concealed access panel in what appeared to be an abandoned apartment building. Through a carefully positioned mirror, she could observe the street 3 stories. Below, where 4 alien soldiers moved in textbook formation, their battle suits were impressive, sleek armor that enhanced their natural movements while providing obvious technological advantages. She watched them scan buildings with integrated sensors, their weapons sweeping in coordinated patterns that suggested extensive training. What they didn't do was look up. Santos had positioned herself in a room whose window had been replaced with a one-way transparent material that allowed her to observe while remaining invisible from outside. More importantly, she had created a firing position that was angled downward at 45 degrees. An angle that most patrol training never considered. Her rifle was a custom weapon designed specifically for urban operations. Shorter barrel for maneuverability, suppressed to reduce noise signature, and loaded with specialized ammunition designed to penetrate energy shielding through kinetic overload rather than brute force. The first alien soldier never knew what hit him. Santos's bullet struck his helmet at precisely the angle needed to bypass the energy shield's deflection properties. The kinetic energy, concentrated into a tungsten core projectile moving at extremely high velocity, punched through the shield like it wasn't there. The soldier dropped instantly. His 3 companions reacted with trained efficiency, but they were reacting to a threat they couldn't locate or understand. "Contact! Team Alpha under fire." The leader's voice carried clearly over their communications, which the humans had been monitoring since the exercise began. "Location of shooter?" came Rixus's mechanical response. "Unknown. Targeting systems show no hostile signatures." In the command bunker, Valtar stared at the displays in disbelief. "Impossible. Our sensors show no weapon discharge in that sector." Technical Commander Vrex adjusted his controls frantically. "Acoustic analysis indicates suppressed weapon fire, but the signature is below normal detection thresholds. Thermal imaging shows no muzzle flash or heat bloom." Santos had already moved. By the time the alien patrol reached the building where she had fired, she was 2 blocks away and 3 stories higher, watching Team Beta through the scope of her backup weapon. "Ghost. This is Maria. Alpha Team is down 1, searching Building 7. Beta Team is entering my new sector." Morrison's response was immediate. "Copy, Maria. Kim is flanking Charlie Team. Petrov has eyes on Delta. Continue hunting." Team Beta consisted of 4 Garati soldiers whose enhanced strength allowed them to move through the urban environment like living tanks. Their energy weapons could punch through building walls, and their sensors could detect heat signatures. Through solid barriers, what they couldn't detect was a human sniper, who had learned to mask her thermal signature using techniques developed in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro. Santos had wrapped herself in a thermal blanket that matched the ambient temperature of the surrounding buildings while positioning herself in a location where the building's own heat signature would mask her presence. She was effectively invisible to thermal sensors, and her position in a partially collapsed structure meant that visual detection was nearly impossible. The Gorati team entered the building directly below her position with obvious confidence. Their suit sensors showed no hostile presence, and their tactical doctrine emphasized overwhelming firepower in confined spaces. "Santos, waited until all 4 soldiers were inside the building before making her move. Her second shot took the team leader through a window that provided perfect angle on his position. The specialized armor-piercing round penetrated his energy shield and armor with devastating effect. The remaining 3 soldiers immediately began suppressive fire, their energy weapons carving through walls and ceilings as they attempted to eliminate whatever had killed their leader. The building's interior became a storm of energy blasts that would have vaporized any COVNVN ONAL hiding position. Santos was no longer in the building. She had fired and immediately moved through a concealed exit that led to the building's basement, then through a storm drain that connected to the building next door. By the time the aliens realized their enemy had escaped, she was already positioning for her next shot from an entirely different angle. In the command bunker, the alien observers watched in growing amazement as their advanced soldiers were systematically eliminated by enemies they couldn't detect or locate. "How are they avoiding our sensors?" demanded ZK single quotes tar. Ambassador Chun smiled. "Urban warfare isn't just about technology, Admiral. It's about understanding the environment and using it to your advantage. But our sensors should detect any movement, any heat signature, any electromagnetic emissions from their weapons." "Should being the operative term," Chun replied. "Your soldiers are fighting according to their training, which assumes their enemies will behave according to standard tactical doctrine. Human snipers don't follow standard doctrine? On the displays?" Another alien soldier dropped as Staff Sergeant Kim demonstrated that thermal camouflage could be achieved with nothing more than mud, local vegetation, and an understanding of how sensors worked. "This is impossible," Veltar muttered. "Our trainees are the best graduates from our military academies. Their equipment is state-of-the-art. How can primitive projectile weapons be this effective?" Colonel Vasquez leaned forward. "Commander, your soldiers are excellent. Their equipment is impressive. But they're fighting a type of warfare they've never encountered before." "What do you mean?" "Your soldiers fight with the assumption that they'll be able to detect and identify threats using technological superiority. Human snipers fight with the assumption that they're outnumbered, outgunned, and technologically inferior. We've learned to win anyway." The urban exercise continued for another hour, with the human team systematically eliminating alien soldiers who never saw them coming, never detected their positions, and never understood how they were being defeated so completely. When the last alien soldier fell to Petrov's precisely placed shot from a position that should have been impossible to occupy, the command bunker fell silent once again. "All 24 targets eliminated," reported Rixus in a tone that suggested his mechanical brain was having difficulty processing the data. Zektar stared at the displays showing the empty urban complex where **. Night operations. When darkness becomes an Elias Kepler 442b's twin suns disappeared below the horizon, the planet's surface transformed into an alien landscape of shadows and strange geometries. The training ground for Phase 3 covered a mixed terrain area, partially forested hills transitioning into rocky badlands, with scattered structures representing various tactical challenges. In the command bunker, now illuminated by the eerie glow of multiple holographic displays, the alien military observers had deployed every sensor array available to their advanced technology. The previous 2 phases had clearly demonstrated that their understanding of human capabilities was fundamentally flawed, and several high-ranking officers had arrived via emergency transport to witness the night operations phase. General Korax of the Hegemony Fleet, a massive crystalline being whose body refracted the display light into prismatic patterns, stood beside Admiral Zektar reviewing the enhanced detection systems, full-spectrum electromagnetic scanning, quantum displacement sensors, gravimetric anomaly detectors. Even primitive projectile weapons must create detectable signatures. Technical Commander Vrex's compound eyes reflected dozens of data streams as he calibrated the equipment. "All systems operational, General. Detection grid covers the entire exercise area with overlapping fields. Nothing larger than a small rodent should escape our sensors." The opposition force for the night phase was even more formidable than previous exercises. 36 elite soldiers from 3 different species, equipped with full night vision systems, thermal imaging, motion detection, and energy weapons optimized for low-light combat. Their battlesuits provided complete environmental protection and enhanced all natural senses to superhuman levels. Commander Veltar gestured toward the tactical display showing the deployment patterns. Teams of 6 soldiers each, rotating patrols to ensure constant coverage. No sector will remain unobserved for more than 90 seconds. The humans will be located and eliminated within the first hour. Ambassador Shun maintained her diplomatic composure while noting the increased number of alien military officials now present. Word of the previous demonstrations had clearly reached higher levels of Galactic command. "I'm sure your soldiers will perform admirably, Commander." "Indeed. Night operations are considered our specialty. The enhanced sensory capabilities provided by our technology make darkness irrelevant." Colonel Vasquez exchanged glances with General Rodriguez. Both officers had extensive experience with night operations, and they understood that darkness was never truly irrelevant. It simply changed the nature of the battlefield. "Commence Phase 3, announced General Corax, his crystalline voice resonating through the bunker like wind chimes in a storm, 4 kilometers away. Master Sergeant Morrison lay motionless in a shallow depression that he had modified with local materials to create what appeared to be nothing more than natural terrain variation. His ghillie suit had been enhanced with adaptive camouflage elements that matched the local vegetation and mineral composition, while specialized heat-dampening materials masked his thermal signature. More importantly, he had spent the daylight hours studying the patrol patterns and sensor placement of the alien forces. 20 years of special operations had taught him that the key to night operations wasn't avoiding detection entirely. It was controlling when and how you were detected. Through his night vision scope, he could see the first patrol moving along a ridgeline 800 meters away. 6 Nexus Federation soldiers in formation, their enhanced suits allowing them to move with superhuman coordination through terrain that would challenge unaugmented troops. In his earpiece, Petrov's whisper was barely audible. "Ghost, I have eyes on Team Beta, Sector 7. They're using active scanning electromagnetic pulses every 30 seconds. Morrison smiled grimly. Active scanning was powerful, but it was also detectable by anyone who knew how to listen. "Copy that, Alex. Maria, report." Santos's voice came from her position in the forest 2 kilometers to the east. "Team, Charlie is moving through the trees using thermal imaging. Pattern suggests they're following heat trails." Switching to cold protocols. Cold protocols meant that Santos was now moving using techniques designed to minimize heat generation, controlled breathing, minimal muscle movement, and specialized clothing that regulated body temperature. It was exhausting to maintain, but it made her effectively invisible to thermal sensors. "Kim status?" Staff Sergeant Kim's voice carried the satisfied tone of a predator who had found perfect hunting ground. "Teams Delta and Echo are converging on the rocky area, southeast approach. They're using motion detectors set for human-sized targets. I'm going to give them something to detect." Morrison understood immediately. Kim wasn't planning to avoid the motion sensors. He was planning to use them as bait. The first phase of the night operation involved what Morrison privately called sensor conditioning. For the next 20 minutes, his team would trigger various detection systems in ways that seemed accidental or natural, training the alien operators to dismiss certain types of alerts as false positives. Kim began the process by moving through the motion detector grid in a pattern that mimicked local wildlife. His movements were carefully calculated to trigger sensors at the absolute threshold of human detection, just enough to register as possible contacts, but too brief and small to confirm human presence. After the 5th such contact, Morrison could hear the alien communications, discussing the false positives from their motion detection. Grid. Perfect.PETROV continued monitoring the electromagnetic scanning patterns while occasionally triggering brief contacts by moving metallic objects through the scan zones. To the alien operators, These appeared to be equipment malfunctions or natural mineral deposits causing interference. Santos used her knowledge of thermal imaging to create heat signatures that appeared and disappeared too quickly to track, brief contacts that seemed like sensor ghosts or environmental variations. By the end of the conditioning phase, the alien operators had unconsciously learned to dismiss certain types of sensor alerts as false positives. Their advanced technology was now working against them. Phase 1 complete, Morrison whispered. Begin hunting. The first kill came from an angle the aliens never expected. Morrison had identified a patrol route that passed within 600 meters of his position every 18 minutes. The patrol assumed their sensors provided complete coverage and protection. Moving with confidence through terrain they believed was secure, Morrison's shot came from a position 30 degrees below the patrol's elevation, fired through a gap in the rocks that provided a clear line of sight for less than 3 seconds as the patrol moved through their route. The tungsten core bullet struck the lead soldier's helmet with enough kinetic energy to overload his energy shields and penetrate his armor. The remaining 5 soldiers immediately activated emergency protocols, their suits broadcasting distress signals while enhanced sensors swept the area for threats. They found nothing. Morrison had fired from a position that was technically impossible to occupy. According to their sensors, a narrow crevice in the rock formation that their mapping systems had classified as too small for human habitation. More importantly, he had used the planet's natural mineral composition to mask the electromagnetic signature of his weapon. Contact! Team Alpha under attack. The patrol leader's voice carried panic despite their training. Location unknown. No visual or sensor contact with hostile forces. In the command bunker, General Korak studied the sensor data with growing confusion. Impossible. Our gravimetric sensors show no human-sized mass in that sector. Technical Commander Vrex ran rapid diagnostics on his equipment. All systems functional, General. Electromagnetic analysis indicates weapon discharge, but trajectory calculations place the firing position inside solid rock. Before anyone could respond, Team Beta's leader reported contact as Petrov's carefully aimed shot eliminated one of their soldiers from a position that should have been covered by 3 different sensor arrays. How are they avoiding detection? Demanded Veltar, his silver skin now showing stress patterns that indicated near-dash panic. Ambassador Shun leaned forward slightly. Commander, perhaps the question isn't how they're avoiding detection. Perhaps the question is how they're using your own detection systems against you. The demonstration continued with mechanical precision. Every 12 to 15 minutes, another alien soldier would fall to a precisely placed shot from an impossible position. The human snipers moved through the night like spirits, striking from concealment and vanishing before the aliens could respond. Kim demonstrated the art of using natural terrain to defeat sensor networks, eliminating soldiers while positioned inside caves that their sensors couldn't properly scan. Santos showed how thermal camouflage could be achieved using nothing more than local clay and an understanding of how thermal imaging worked. Petrov proved that electromagnetic sensors could be fooled by anyone who understood their operating principles. Morrison coordinated the attack like a deadly symphony, each shot carefully timed to maximize psychological impact while maintaining operational security. By midnight, 18 of the 36 alien soldiers had been eliminated. The remaining patrols had consolidated into defensive positions, no longer hunting Asterisk. Dawn of recognition, when the galaxy learns to fear ghosts. The pre-dawn darkness of Kepler 442b was broken only by the distant glow of energy weapons as the surviving alien soldiers maintained their defensive perimeters. What had begun as a confident demonstration of galactic military superiority had transformed into a desperate struggle for survival against an enemy that seemed to exist outside the laws of modern warfare. In the command bunker, the atmosphere had shifted from confident amusement to tense silence. General Corax's crystalline form reflected the somber lighting as he studied casualty reports that defied everything he understood about tactical operations. Admiral Zektar stood motionless beside the holographic displays, his forearms hanging limply as he watched his elite soldiers being systematically eliminated by 4 humans with primitive weapons. Current status report. Corax commanded in a voice that sounded like breaking glass. Technical. Commander Vrex's compound eyes dimmed as he compiled the data. 29 confirmed eliminations. 7 soldiers remaining, consolidated in defensive position Delta 7. All attempts to locate human snipers have failed. Sensor networks show no viable targets despite continuous active scanning. Commander Veltar S. Silver Skin had taken on a darker tone that indicated extreme stress. This cannot be accurate. 36 of our best soldiers, equipped with the most advanced technology in the galaxy, eliminated by 4 humans using chemical projectile weapons? The data is verified, Commander, Vrex reported mechanically. Multiple redundant systems confirm all eliminations. Ambassador Chun maintained her diplomatic posture while observing the growing dismay among the alien officers. Gentlemen, perhaps this would be an appropriate time to discuss the tactical lessons your forces are learning from this exercise? General Corax turned toward the human delegation, his prismatic features reflecting confusion and something that might have been respect. Ambassador Sheng, your snipers have demonstrated capabilities that challenge fundamental assumptions about modern warfare. How is this possible? Before Chen could respond, Colonel Vasquez stepped forward. General, if I may? Your soldiers are excellent. Their equipment is superior to anything we have. But they're fighting an enemy type that doesn't exist in your tactical doctrine. Explain. Your military doctrine emphasizes technological superiority, overwhelming firepower, and sensor-based battlefield awareness. These are excellent approaches against enemies who fight according to similar principles. Human snipers developed in a different environment. Vasquez gestured toward the displays showing the exercise area. For thousands of years, humans have fought wars where they were outnumbered, outgunned, and technologically inferior. We learned to win anyway. Not through superior equipment, but through superior adaptation. General Rodriguez joined the explanation. Your soldiers fight with the assumption that their technology will provide battlefield awareness and engagement advantage. Our snipers fight with the assumption that the enemy has superior technology and numbers. Everything about their training and tactics is designed to overcome those disadvantages. 4 kilometers away, Master Sergeant Morrison crouched in a position that technically shouldn't have been possible to occupy. Over the past 8 hours, he had modified the natural terrain using nothing more than local materials and patient engineering to create a hide that was invisible to every sensor system the aliens possessed. The 7 surviving alien soldiers had taken refuge in a defensive position that should have been impregnable. Energy barriers provided protection from projectile weapons. Overlapping sensor fields covered all approaches, and automated defensive systems would engage any target that came within 200 meters. Morrison had spent 2 hours studying the position and had identified 17 different ways to eliminate the defenders without ever coming within 500 meters of their perimeter. In his earpiece, Petrov's voice whispered technical details that would have impressed any military engineer. Ghost, their energy barriers are calibrated to deflect plasma and particle beam weapons. Kinetic projectiles at sufficient velocity should overload the system. Understood. Maria, can you achieve elevation on the eastern approach? Santos's response came from her position in what the aliens had classified as impassable terrain. Roger, Ghost, I have clear sight lines on targets 2 and 5. Waiting for your signal. Kim, status on the automated defenses? Staff Sergeant Kim's voice carried the satisfaction of someone who had solved a complex puzzle. Defensive systems use motion tracking calibrated for standard approach vectors. I can defeat them using indirect fire through the ravine system. Morrison smiled grimly. The aliens had created a perfect defensive position according to their understanding of modern warfare. Unfortunately for them, human snipers didn't follow modern warfare principles. All units, commence final phase. Remember precision, patience, and surprise. The first shot came from Morrison's impossible position. A tungsten core round that struck the energy barrier at precisely the angle needed to overload its power systems. The barrier flickered and died just as Santos's shot eliminated the soldier responsible for its operation. The remaining 6 soldiers reacted with trained efficiency. But they were reacting to an attack from directions their sensors said were impossible. Kim's indirect fire came bouncing through the ravine system at angles that defeated their automated defenses, while Petrov's shots came from positions that their mapping systems insisted were empty. Space. The final phase lasted exactly 7 minutes. When the last alien soldier fell to Santos's precisely placed shot, the command bunker fell completely silent. On the displays, the exercise area showed no human signatures despite the fact that 4 snipers had just eliminated 36 elite soldiers. Without losing a single team member, General Korak stared at the tactical analysis for a long moment before speaking. In 600 years of military service across 17 different conflicts, I have never witnessed anything comparable to this demonstration. Admiral Zakhtar's voice was barely audible. 4 soldiers. Primitive weapons. 0 casualties. Complete tactical victory against our best forces. Ambassador Chun stepped forward. General Korak's Admiral Zakhtar, this demonstration was never intended to embarrass your forces or diminish your capabilities. It was intended to show how human military doctrine might complement galactic capabilities. Complement? Veltar's voice cracked slightly. Ambassador, your soldiers just redefined what we thought we knew about warfare. Colonel Vasquez nodded respectfully. Commander, every military force has strengths and weaknesses. Your soldiers excel at direct engagement with superior firepower and technology. Our snipers excel at unconventional warfare and adaptation to technological disadvantage. Together, we might be significantly more effective than either force alone. The holographic displays suddenly activated as new data streams appeared. Morrison and his team were finally visible, emerging from positions that the sensors had scanned hundreds of times without detecting human presence. Technical Commander Vrex studied the emerging figures with mechanical fascination. Fascinating. Now that they're moving openly, I can analyze their concealment methods. Thermal dampening using local materials. Electromagnetic masking through natural mineral composition. Gravimetric concealment using terrain modification. And visual camouflage that ... He paused. That appears to be nothing more than local vegetation and patience. Morrison's voice came through the communication system, calm and professional. Command, this is Ghost Team. Exercise complete. 36 targets eliminated, 0 friendly casualties. Ready for debrief. General Korax turned to Ambassador Chun with an expression that might have been awe. Ambassador, on behalf of the Galactic Defense Council, I formally withdraw our previous assessment of human military capabilities. Admiral Zakhtar's forearms gestured helplessly. We mocked your snipers, Ambassador. We treated this demonstration as entertainment. Chun's diplomatic smile softened slightly. Admiral, respect is earned through action, not words. Today, my soldiers earned your respect the same way your forces have earned ours, through professional competence and dedication to their mission. Professional competence, Korax repeated slowly. Yes, that is precisely what we witnessed. Commander Veltar looked up from the tactical analysis he had been studying. Ambassador, would it be possible for our forces to receive training in these ... unconventional methods? Before Chen could respond, Morrison's team appeared in the bunker's entrance. 4 ordinary-looking humans carrying weapons that seemed almost primitive compared to the advanced technology surrounding them. Morrison stepped forward and rendered a precise military salute. Sirs, Master Sergeant Morrison reporting. Ghost Team ready for debrief. The alien officers stared at the humans who had just redefined their understanding of warfare. These weren't technological marvels or enhanced super soldiers. They were simply highly trained professionals who had learned to excel. In the worst possible circumstances, General Corax's crystalline form seemed to brighten as he returned. Morrison's salute with obvious respect. Master Sergeant Morrison, your demonstration has been educational. We would be honored to learn from your expertise. Morrison's weathered face remained expressionless. Sir, we'd be honored to serve alongside your forces. T.